Hey everybody, I'm going to make another video, and hopefully this will be the last one of the compilation for the 1 through 4 blog posts. What I'm doing is I'm going to go through and apply this to the VM that we've made the last couple weeks. Um, yeah, if you've been following along, that should ring a bell with anybody. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm kind of learning my way as I go through. As I said before, I'm not a content creator. I've been building my own website and tying this all together. Before it was on platinumitconsulting.com, I've now got it on a new domain name, cyberhands.tech, which I really love. So the but the ads aren't showing up yet. So I'm doing this for purposes of from building a website from the ground up, integrating it with advertising, even though I'm only going to make a few cents. No one's really watching this or ever going to go to my website. It's only for myself. I've never coded a website before, so all of this is with the help of Wix, AI, and then I started learning HTML, JavaScript, and CSS on my own. And I wanted to start well, to rephrase that, I developed my own security baseline back in 2000, I think it was 19, um, and it was really slick. I used it for my business. And for many years, I thought of going through and documenting it, and that's what this is. I'm documenting it so that I can remember how to do it and then share it with everybody because I use a tool called ConnectWise, and that's what this is right here. So I'm going to go through and do this. But to start, let's pick up where we left off on the last video. The first video, I had trouble making a Windows 11 VM because one, I didn't have TPM enabled, the Trusted Platform module, and then it seems as if it works better with using some PowerShell code, which I had to do some research on. So I originally did a Windows 10 VM, and then I took another week, did some research, figured out what it was. So it's partially my fault, partially the fact that they changed it to requiring more security with the TPM. And now I've got it. If you watch the past videos, you should be able to do this if anyone wants to build a virtual machine. Virtual machine is not scary. The only thing is you have to have enough resources on your host computer because a virtual machine, especially a Type 2 virtual machine, will use those resources on your host machine. And Type 1 works the same, but of using those resources, memory, hard drive, or disk space in the CPU. But just making that distinction for anyone that's new, that's green, that doesn't know those types of things. So if you have 32 gigs of memory and you want your virtual machine to have 8, it's going to take 8 away from your host machine. Your host machine is the machine that you're running the Type 2 hypervisor on. Last week I stopped the video with Windows 11 installing. It automatically rebooted and it came back up to this that you see right here. Um, it's honestly been sitting here for a week. I haven't done anything. I decided, well, I'll create another video next week. After this week, I should be able, or hopefully, I should be able to get back to blogging the security baselines and go from there. So I'm going to finish this virtual machine. Yes, we're in the United States. And keyboard layout is, yes, I'm in the United States. Oh, yes, I don't need a second one. Oops, skip. And checking for updates. It's been sitting there a week. I'm surprised it doesn't do it before or while it's sitting there. We'll do this from the ground up. And the reason why is because if I go to the file and settings, the reason why I'm doing this is because we still have the default switch, I believe, right? Yeah, so this is here. I'm going to end up removing this. I'm going to go through and show some networking from a virtual machine standpoint. Um, why am I doing that? Because when I used to teach college, I used to teach college for an organization, and I would teach the Windows track and the two classes of the networking track, the Cisco networking track. We used virtual machines for the Windows classes. There were certain things I realized halfway through my tenure there. I was only a college teacher for 4 years before I decided to leave. And about this, it was either the end of the second year or the beginning of the third, I realized that I should have been teaching with the virtual machines in the Windows classes. I should have been teaching a little bit more about networking, how you can see the default route, and that's what this will be. How you can see the default route, how it looks like bit from ground up. And the reason why I say that is because I did not get that foundational experience 20 years ago for various reasons, particularly because my instructor at the time was a little bit, um, well, she wasn't that good of a network instructor. She generally ended up going out smoking every half hour. So I'll let it go with that. Let's see. So is this okay? So I'm going to see if I can get past this. Microsoft made it so that, or Microsoft's enforcing it so it's an online account, and people hate that. I'm going to see if I can figure this out on the fly of how to not do this. This is the default right here. I'm going to do sign in options, and it's probably going to be domain join. Use this name to sign into the device. Let's go cyber hands. And as you can see, I cannot type. So go next, and we'll put in a password. And I can show this because it's nothing I use for my other accounts anywhere. Go next, confirm password. And I honestly hate that they do this, security questions, because if you're taking care of systems for somebody, if you're an MSP like my business used to be, I'm just going to obviously put in just password because I don't care at this point for this one, for this section. Just get past it. I wish there was another thing that they did. Here's the telemetry for the purposes of this. I'll just hit accept. I used to have a script for turning that off. I think I still do have the script. The Microsoft telemetry I've noticed can really slow down well, if you have a computer with a hard drive that's not operating 100%, I've noticed that it really slows down a computer. Okay, we're installing the latest features. This could take around 30 minutes. Good Lord, I hope not. Your update is in progress. We'll take it from here. Installing the latest features. If this does take 30 minutes, I might go ahead. Yeah, it's downloading at 3%. I might pause this. Let's see where we're at. Start hold is how many is this just all it is? Just keep showing me stuff. Yeah, at this point, why don't we do this? Now that we're at this point, I'm going to pause the video so that I'm not sitting here dead space, and let this all apply. And when the updates are applying, I'll continue on with the video so that we can do what we want to do. And the only reason why I did it from this perspective is just for anyone that wants to watch this. Hoping eventually my students will come to these. My students for Clarisway will maybe watch these on the side if they want to learn some other stuff. But from here on out, or anyone else that's out there as well, right? So that's kind of why I'm doing it. I'm going to pause this, and I'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, everybody, I'm resuming right now. This VM it's taken about 15 minutes. It's applying the updates, or has applied the updates and doing its final reboot. It might reboot again, so we'll just wait and watch this as it happens and goes through, and then we'll try continuing on and see where we get with our process today. There we go. So from this point on, if you're doing it with Hyper-V, send a action, control, delete, send a control, delete, log in with the password, and thankfully I remember the password. Choose your display size. Yeah, just connect. I generally go with the default with that, especially when I'm doing things like this, unless there's some unique reason why I need a different size. Oh, Didn't work. Let's try that again. Oh, I think it did work just as it's supposed to. And there it goes. It's still applying updates. Come on. Eventually it'll get there. Oh, now that I think about it, it's not really applying updates. This is the first time I've ever logged in, so it's logging into a new profile. So this is pretty normal when you've never logged into a PC or server or anything like that before with Windows. It has to create that profile. Almost there. There we go. Finally got a desktop. So, let me change one thing. Hopefully the settings are here so I can all do it. I don't like Windows 11 and how they do things with the start button being right here. Let me see if I can change that quickly. Don't like that. Here, let me start this process all over again. Start button, taskbar settings, and let's see. Search box, I like this to be hidden. There, let's see. Copilot, yep, turn that off. Task view, turn that off. Widgets, don't like that. Taskbar behaviors, there we go. Align this to the center. That's more so on the left, like Windows 10. So from here, I want to go over the networking settings first. I'm going to go in the PowerShell. That's what this is. I right-clicked with the Windows PowerShell admin. So from here, the command is ipconfig, and I'm just going to hit enter. And I can see that I have an IP address of 172.21.202.119, and my default gateway is 172.21.192.1. If I do a netstat-r, if I remember correctly, I can see my active routes. I'm showing this because of a couple different reasons, and I'm going to go into it. This is where I wish I would have done things differently from when we created a VM, and the reason why I created a virtual machine in college, and the reason why that is so that we could see this and then remove the default switch or not have it hooked up to a network. It'd be much if it wasn't hooked up to a network, it'd be much the same as a physical machine that wasn't plugged into a network, and you install Windows, and it comes on up and it's not connected to a network. Right now, this shows that it's all connected to a network. And the only reason why I'd do that differently if I was teaching college yet, instead of stepping away from it, is so that you start understanding it. That's what I needed to understand 20 years ago. There's a lot of hand waving. Um, they didn't go into that in detail. And so I'm doing a couple different things here, right? If you're new to this, ipconfig is how we see our IP address and some default information about the networking configuration, which is this information right here, IPv version 4, even though that's going away. Netstat-r is how we can see our default routes, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing active routes. Here's our IPv4 routing table. Now, I'm going to change this, right? I'm going to go to File, Settings, and I don't know if I can do this while it's on. So if it's not, if I can't, I'm going to go ahead and remove it. I'm going to go ahead and click this and go the not connected. So this is basically essentially unplugging it from unplugging the network cable. And I'm going to do a clear on this and do an ipconfig again, and I've got nothing. It says media disconnected. This is where I'm saying if I was teaching college yet, and when we got to a virtual machine, I would direct my students to build a virtual machine and not have it connected to the virtual network. We used to use VMware Workstation Pro, and that's free now. Maybe one of these days I'll switch that because I actually do miss that. It's free since Broadcom took them over. So that denotes that the media is disconnected. Again, this would be no different than if I built a physical machine, but I did not have that connected to a network. And then you go, well, why? Why does that matter? Because, in my opinion, from the ground up, I would redo that differently so that I could show my students what that looks like, of where that network comes from, what the default gateway is, hence netstat-r. If I do netstat-r now and do enter, oh, I've got some active routes there. So I wonder if I would have done this, if I would have done this differently without these coming on up. I think these would have been here now that I look at it. Now this is where I admit my networking knowledge is not the best because I don't know why we have 127.0.0.0. I understand that's a loopback address, but I didn't understand. I don't know at the moment why that is there for the active routes for the route table. I'm sure it's there. There's some specific reason, but um, I don't know everything. I've always said that before. So from here, what I would do, and I'll probably do this another way. Maybe later on I'll do another video where I do this with creating the virtual machine and not have it connected to the default switch, and from the ground up, and see how this is different, just as a learning lesson for myself, and maybe research this. Here, let me do this. Let me do a control C on this, and make a note on this. I'm going to research it later. Let me do a control C on all of this. Yeah, I'm going to look at that a little bit later. So, again, I have no default gateway. ipconfig shows me nothing. Do an ipconfig all, which should show me nothing. ipconfig all is the /all is another switch. Obviously, we don't have anything right here. And that's the only distinction that I would do from the ground up as I taught it, if I taught it again. And I'll go, let's add this default switch back. If we do an ipconfig, hit enter. Now we've got our IP address and I've got a default gateway. And if I hit up to get the netstat-r, I can see my default gateway here. So I'm going to do a little bit of research on this. Just a distinction there. And again, this website, these videos, this is for myself as much as anybody else. If it shows a lack of knowledge that I have, that's fine. No one is expected to know everything. That's where research comes on what we have to do. So from here, let's go ahead and get my agent. Before I could just copy and paste this, I'm going to copy from my host machine. This is my agent for ConnectWise. I hate that subcontext menu of Windows 11 that you have to show more options. I know that I can do this and that's a copy, but I just hate that they changed that thing, that little item. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to see if I can paste it to this virtual machine, which I could before when I did this. Paste. Yep, there we go. Agent install. And just double click this. And it will run. It really doesn't show anything. Do you know anything that it runs until this comes up, which I don't even know if that can be seen on the virtual machine or this video. The security context, yes or no. And there you go. This is the only thing that you see that says it installed correctly. Installation completed successfully. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to go over here and go back to browse and go into my Platinum IT Consulting ND for North Dakota, since that's where I'm based out of. And already it's showing up there, which is wonderful. Took a few seconds. From here, I'm now ready to do this. So if I go back to System and then, oh, no, Automation, and then my scripts, my view scripts, this is where I want to make the changes. Now, this is the script that I was building or that I was following for writing the blog. This is where I have everything all in one. This is the one we're not going to use. This is the one that I was building for this. And I'm going to use this in conjunction with what I have for the blog and make sure that it works and apply it and go from there. And step by step, make sure that it applies correctly. So when I say that, what I mean is I'm going to go back to this part right here, my blog. And I'm going to go through, so I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'm going to go through and follow it to make sure that it works correctly and then apply it to this virtual machine that we have. So this details what we're talking about, or what I'm talking about with the scripting window. Don't need to do that right here. Here's our first step where we're installing NuGet. If I go back to my script, let's see what our very first one is here. Oops, didn't want to click that. Script for blog purposes. This is a remark script. For myself, I do stars before the remark, so I can see easily that it is a remark. My very first step is to set the execution policy, the unrestricted enforce, and then dash force. That is for the purposes of PowerShell has an execution policy that limits what can be run. You have to set it to unrestricted. Unrestricted or signed, but I'm not going to sign anything for this. This next step is to create a folder. You need a folder where you're going to write everything. And what I found when I was building this a few years ago, 5 years ago now, it just makes logical sense, or at least in my mind, it makes logical sense. This is the script that is, or this is the folder that is created when you have the Automate agent installed. So I decided, well, I'll just use this file path. And the reason why is then, if anyone uninstalls my agent, uh, if another business comes along, if the client decides to leave me, it should remove, if I have anything left out there, any artifacts, it should remove that as well. I'm putting it into a folder called PISB for Platinum Integrity Security Baseline. And then this next script step is to download lgpo.exe to modify the local group policy, right? So this is where I have to go back to the blog because I have to get onto that WebDAV folder. And let's go ahead and look at that. So if we go and close out of this, this is the script block to install NuGet. This is where we're creating a file right for that. Let's see, did that match? LGPO. Am I on the right one? Let me look through this. I feel like I'm missing a step here. Or was I just going out? I think I might have just been going over how to create this. Oh, okay. This part right here is actually, now that I remember it, this is from my onboarding script. So that's outside of what we created. So I actually need to get this and move it into the script that we're creating here. And where I do that at, I go back here, let me cancel this. Yeah, let me move this over to my other monitor and go back here, and my onboarding script is right here. And this onboards all of my clients when I install the agent and then move it to the right folder within the Automate program itself, then it onboards correctly. So what we're showing here is, or what I'm showing here is a script step to install NuGet. And where I'm going to want this to go is after the execution policy is set and after the folder is created, I would say. Let's go find that in the script. That's this one right here. Turn off Windows Update. I don't know why I turned that off back in the day. I don't think I didn't want to update while I was running the onboarding script. Where I want it. Right here, script to install NuGet. And what I'm going to do is copy this. And one of the nice things about Automate is I can copy and paste. So where do I want this at? I want it right here. Let's see if this works right. Paste. So in our logic here, we are setting the execution policy unrestricted. We are creating a folder that we can write into, and then we're going to go ahead and do a script block to install NuGet. Now this is where I need to double check that this matches, and if it doesn't match, that's fine. It will, I'm not going to go, I probably won't be going back and rewriting the blog, which is why I'm doing these videos, so that it all comes together in one finished product. So let's go here. Scroll up a little bit. Let's see where we're at. We're going through here. We're installing NuGet. Okay, so from here, we want this part right here. I want to make sure that this is the same as what we have in a blog. And I'm going to hit this right here. So in my blog, what I say is, I show how to do all this with the file right. If I go back here and close this, it is a file write text. I am writing it to, so this is where I have to change this so it matches the folder I created for this directory. And we'll leave this as the same. I was trying to keep my business name out of it, but at this point, it's too much work. When I'm getting done with this, I'm probably going to realize it just probably would have been easier to do this on something for GitHub and just upload it and share out. This is a step to delete what we created on the file system. And the reason why you do that is because it's a client's computer. You don't want to leave artifacts laying out there. So we're installing NuGet. And if I look through this, open this up, I have set execution policy unrestricted force, install package provider NuGet, name NuGet force, import package provider name NuGet force. If I go back to my blog, what did I say there? What do I have here? Just match. Okay, I didn't put this where I could copy it as code, so let me bring this on over. Let me close this. Let me try and put this all on one screen so that we can verify that it's the same. Let me make it, there we go. Oops, what did I do? Oh, well, let's go back. I want to get to this part right here with the window looking like this, but I can't do that. Maybe if I scroll up. There we go. That'll work. Just trying to get to this here. So put these side by side, set execution policy unrestricted force, install package provider, name NuGet force, import package provider, name NuGet force. That all looks correctly. So that's our first step with this. So hit cancel on that. So I'm building this out. I'm setting in the execution policy, the unrestricted. I'm creating a folder. I'm installing NuGet. And then I've got the script step to download lgpo.exe to modify the local group policy. And that was transferred up to where I have ConnectWise. Now this is where I got to go back to the blog. Let's see where we're at. Let's see the other steps that we have within here. What else do we have? File delete. And then I've got script step to install additional modules. And I'm going to need those from my onboarding script. So I'm going to go over there. On my onboarding script, I have install PowerShell 7. I installed and played with Chocolatey for a little bit. Certain applications I was updating through Chocolatey. Here's my additional PowerShell modules. So let's copy this. And let's go right here. And I want to put this and paste this right here. So it's right after, Actually, let's cut this. Let's see, can you do a Control Z? No, you can't do a Control Z on this. Delete, can delete that. Let's put this item that we created right above the local GPO that we're putting in here. So right after we install NuGet, we're going to go ahead and install the additional PowerShell modules. And the reason why I needed NuGet is for these additional PowerShell modules, if I remember correctly. Along with that, there was a annoying error that would not install, NuGet wouldn't install through PowerShell many years ago. I think about a year ago I came across that. Finally, someone else at Microsoft was documenting that, so I was finding my own way to fix some of these things and get to this point. So here, let's go ahead. Let's get back to our blog. Realizing as I wrote this, I might have skipped a few steps to make this all functional, but that's okay. That's why we're doing the, that's why I'm doing the video, right? So I've got a step here, script step to install additional PowerShell modules. That's remmed out. I do a write save module name process mitigations. That is this one right here. If I go back to my this part, if I open this up here, let me minimize this so it's right here, and then open this up, and open this up, and bring this on over so that we can all see it on one. I document and save the module name process mitigations. So we want this one. Process mitigations allows us to modify the local policy editor, or let's change some file names. I was looking at X desired state configuration 5 years ago. That was DSC. That's something within Microsoft where if there's configuration drift, it will change it back. Gave up on that, so let's take that out so it matches our documentation. Take this out so it matches the documentation. Policy file editor I need, and then PS Windows Update I was looking at, but don't need that as well. So these are the three that we need so that it matches what I have documented. So from this point on, I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit save. And let's make this full screen again and save step. And then my next step is where I call it. I do a PowerShell command, and it's calling this file. So I need to change this directory right here so it's PISB. Save. So go back to this one, the very first one where we're writing this in. I think I need to change this as well. Right. PISB. Now I'm wishing when I started this documentation months ago. I just wish I would have left everything the same, not try to hide my business name. Install NuGet. Install the PowerShell modules. Let's go through these one by one. Yep, that looks right. PowerShell command, and here's where I'm calling it, the at path to that folder in a single quote. And then I delete that same folder, or delete that same file. And then finally, my next step is to download the GPO, I think. Let's go back to my blog, or the LGPO. So I go into what I'm documenting here, why I'm doing this, and what these are used for. Here's where I'm actually using the policy file editor. This is for later on, and we'll get to that. But from, I think when I was blogging this, I was just showing how it would work. So let's go to the next one, which is, where's 2? Well, I can just change this up here. Let's go to 2. Okay. So from here, I veered into the Windows or the Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit 1.0. This was the other tool that I used for making this video, or for making this baseline. And to go out there, let's see if it's still there. That URL is the same. Yep, there we go. This is what I'll end up downloading. I'll try and make this one for one as much as possible, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. Now, here's where I get into WebDAV, and this is where I get into, I have to get into what ConnectWise is providing for me, which is a directory out there. So I'm going to open up this folder. Now, if you don't use ConnectWise, you won't be able to do this exactly as a one for one. But the other reason why I do this is because maybe there's another way of doing it. Like I said, through GitHub or something like that. And I'm going to probably eventually do that, show that, or create one and then upload the GitHub and have it so it's just downloaded and you can apply the baseline locally without using ConnectWise. That's down the road. I'm doing other programming, building the website, working on development, learning tool for Yara as well. So WebDAV, I think I'm saying that right. Web Distributed Authoring and Versioning is an extension of the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Long story short, so you can share out a folder and access it through HTTP. That allows clients to perform remote file management on web servers after you set up WebDAV for access to your LT share on the Automate web server and file you save to the LT share are automatically available for users to with this. So I'm saving it out to the LT share, and that's where I'm calling this from, a lot of this material from, and downloading it. But with this, let's see, I think you need to get access to it. Access LT share from Workstation. That's where this comes in right here. And I need to get into and reset my password because I don't think I've used it in a while. So that's one of these links right here. Is it this one? So I'm looking for my server dashboard. And I'm not sure where that is, but I know I have a link to it. I'm going to do that on my other monitor. I have a bookmark for it. And this is what that looks like. Here I've got server actions, and I can reset my web password, and it says put in your desired password. I'm going to go ahead and please enter your desired password. Your username will be emailed to you at info@platinumitconsulting.com. So I won't show my username. Obviously, I'm not going to show the password, so I'm just going to go ahead and set this. Reset password. And then I'm going to minimize this, and then I'm going to go back to this little one right here, and I'm going to map this LT share. Okay? So to do that, it says Open File Explorer, navigate to my computer, this PC, click Map Network Drive, add network location. I'm going to minimize this, minimize all of this, and I'm just going to right-click on this PC and Map Network Drive. And I'm going to map it to the Z drive. Now this says, going back here, it's HTTPS fully qualified domain name, FQDN, and then share. So this should be do they have it here? Should be this. Here's my fully qualified domain name, which I probably shouldn't be sharing in a video, but you're going to have to guess a few things and get access to a few things before you get into my system. And here it's setting up WebDAV. So I'm going to minimize this, paste that in there, paste this in there. this part I'm going to take on out. I'm going to copy this. Take out the FQDN, paste this, and that's what it should look like for me. That looks familiar. Reconnect at sign on, connect using different credentials, going to need that. Actually, no, I was going to say I might have done this before, and it should work on Windows 11. You know what? Did I just waste some time? Because I think... No, this should work. Why is it not working? I'm thinking that I was having a problem years ago. That's why I was using Windows 10 so much, because I was having a problem connecting to this WebDAV folder from Windows 11. Oh, hold on a second. There is one more thing to check. A service is supposed to be running. I think you have to have the WebDAV folder running on this one, or the client. Let me double check the documentation. This is setting it up. Web client has to be running. That's this one right here, start. Can I do it now? There we go. So this we couldn't figure out, or this I couldn't figure out a few years ago. I don't think support had it either. So I'm going to take this over to the right-hand side, put in the username so no one sees it. Put in my username, put in my password, hit OK. And it says attempting to connect, and it brought this up. So this shows me that it connected. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, so that at this point, this all works correctly. That does bring up memories, though. 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I forget whenever it was very frustrating with Windows 11. I think it was because it was new. I don't even think that they knew about that WebDAV service. I'm going to set this on automatic so that I don't run into this again. So from here, let's go back to our blog. So I've gone through this part. I've gotten into my WebDAV folder, mapped this drive. Here I'm doing it to the Y drive. Live I'm doing it to the Z drive. This is the directory. This is what it looks like, as I just showed everybody. And then I downloaded this folder, downloaded the content, the Microsoft Security baseline. Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit 1.0. So let's go ahead and download that. Click download. And what do I show on my blog? How am I doing it on my blog? I'm doing lgpo.zip, and here I did the Windows 10 version 22.h2. For this video, we can honestly do the Windows 11, I believe. And would it be this one? I think there's a newer one, isn't there? Here we go. We'll do the 23H version 23H2 and download. And we're going to open this up. And here are the 2 items that I downloaded, right? Let's delete all of this old info. So we got, make it nice and clean for our video. Probably should have done it beforehand, but that's okay. Oh, this is the ISO that I use to build. We can keep this. This is all part of this video. So I'm going to right click on the lgpo.zip. Well, hold on. Let me look at my security baseline. Once downloaded, the files can be extracted to their respective folders, so I did extract them, which can be uploaded to the Automate WebDAV folder established earlier. And here what I'm doing is I put them in a folder called Security Baseline. So we're going to go into my downloads, right-click, and extract all. And that's what comes up. And then right-click and extract all in the Security Baseline. And I honestly think that I don't need to extract the Security Baseline. I think I just had it as a zip file, and then I extracted it on the fly in my baseline. But that's why we're doing this, right? So it all comes together in one finished product. So going back to my baseline, I went into security baseline. So let's go back to, should be here. Here's my Z drive, and that's funny. I had that security baseline there. I did not delete that. I must have the wrong folder here. Oh, that's right. It has to be transfer and then security baseline. That's right. So here I've got the lgpo.zip and then the lgpo folder. I extracted it. One of these we don't need, but this folder is what matches my blog and the way that we're doing this. So that's what this is right here. And if I go back to the transfer folder, the security baseline folder, here's my Windows 11 security baseline. Again, showing that I veered from the blog, but that's okay. That's why I'm doing the video so that everyone can see it. So that's where I ended part 2 of this baseline. So let's go to part 3. So I would say now we have the primary tools installed. We can, where are we at? We created more of this script, which I might have already done. More so of how to do this with the scripting. Here I've got this part. So okay, now on this part 3, I'm going to go over here to this part. This is this part. This is where I'm specifying the lgpo.exe to modify local group policy. And I'm specifying this step right here. This is where I specify to download it from this WebDAV folder. So this blog post, or this script step, is a file download from this from a file download, and you know that's doing it from ConnectWise because it's in the transfer folder. From here of the security baseline, we have to specify this part right here. It knows that it's transferring from the transfer folder. That's the whole point there. And then security baseline, and then LGPO 30 underscore 30, and then lgpo.exe. It's going to download this file. Where are we downloading it to? I just decided when I did this 5 years ago, put it in System 32, since that's an environmental path. Yeah, so that's what blog section 3 has of this blog post. And then the next one is where I'm saying, well, here, let's go back to my blog post and let's see what we've got. So here's where I'm saying, well, maybe I'll do this with git or wget commands when I do this another time. That was a short one because I'm doing this piecemeal. Let's go look at part 4. So we have it again, the going over the security baseline, the Windows 11 security baseline, talking about the transfer, which I just described in this video. and how to set this all up. I'm basically going into part 4 of how to copy this information to this staging area is what I've got. That's what part 4 is of this blog post, walking everybody through this. So is there anything I need to do here? We might be at the point of trying to run this and see how it works. And yeah, that works. So that's where I kind of got to the point, and it's taken me a while because if I go back to part 1, when did I first modify this? I've been working on other things and working on piecemeal, enjoying my life, 4th of July weekend, things like that. Come on, numlock not on. There we go. Trying to get back to part 1. First time I did this, or first time I started working on this was April 20th. Well, no, beginning of April, and then I finally posted this April 20th. And I've updated it, little minor spelling mistakes I find. This change is probably because I changed domain names. I'm trying to get the Google AdSense links working. Um, yeah, so at this point, really where I'm at is I can save this that I created, my script, and I can apply it and see if it works correctly. Now the only thing I'm really worried about is this path, if I've got it the same everywhere in all of these. And it looks like I do. Now again, to go through this very first one, 1 and 2, is where I am setting the execution policy, the unrestricted. 3 and 4 is where I'm creating a folder, a PISB folder in the LTSVC folder in Windows. And that's my own folder to read and write to. It could be anywhere in the file system because the Automate agent has to run as administrative access. Here we're installing NuGet. And to show what this looks like again, open this up. I'm also doing again set unrestricted execution policy unrestricted. Don't really need that, but when I was doing this 5-6 years ago, I was repeating steps. So really you could clear this out, or you don't have to have this here. But in the interest of time, I'm going to keep it just in case. Installing NuGet in a couple different ways, and the reason why I'm doing that is because, like I said, I was finding myself having an error doing this a couple years ago that no one seemed to be addressing. I think that they've addressed it now. So here's NuGet, or they are addressing it. Here's where I'm installing additional modules. Let's go back to NuGet. Again, I'm doing a file write text. So it's going to create a file on the file system, and then I'm going to call that file. And I do that consistently. Don't I call this? Oh, here I go. I'm calling this file right here. It's running a PowerShell command, and then it's running, this is the command right here that I'm calling. So it's calling that file, it's going to execute that file. Whenever I do this, I keep these file names all the same, hence why I delete them afterwards for consistency. And it can be done different ways. You don't have to do the same file, but the reason why I did that is in case one step failed where it failed deleting, it would come through, delete it later on. Install my additional modules. Process mitigations and policy file editor and install PowerShell Git. How can we verify this, that it runs correctly? Well, I should see these modules in this path. That's at least one way that I should be able to do it. So if I copy this right now and go back to my virtual machine, do a start run, and hit enter, this is what we have in this folder. When this runs, when I run this, which I'm just going to do in a few minutes, I should have a few other items in here. It should have these from this step right here of policy file editor and process mitigations. Cancel this. So that was this part. And then we should probably also see the LGPO being downloaded. And that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if this is actually going to download. We're not at this part of 15 and 16. This is just here now that I'm realizing this, now that I'm baking this. I guess the blog I could put it as is this is all getting all the ingredients together, And then when I do the videos, this is where we'll be doing the actual cooking. Yeah, so let's see how this works. Let's apply it and see what happens. To apply this, to run this script, let me close this and go back to ConnectWise Automate. Let me make this big so it's the only thing here. And I'm going to go to Browse and CyberHands. I'm going to right click and Scripts and Microsoft Security Baseline, and I suddenly forgot which one it is. I think it's this one, PISB blog. Let's go double check that in that script folder. I love ConnectWise Automate. Wish I had it when I was a PeopleSoft administrator or other things that I did. That's my onboarding. Here's my security baseline. But one thing I don't like is how I can't open up multiple windows of the same thing. I'd have to open up the entire, have multiple ones of this running. So I think it's PISB blog. Yeah, it's PISB blog. So let's go back there and right click. Now is this going to work? No, this is not going to work. Why is it showing offline? Oh, it's because I took the network connection out and it. Oh, Windows 10, that's my Windows 10 machine. Here's my Windows 11 machine. I have to rename this. Let's go back here. Here's another thing we can show. We can rename this. Let's hit no, we've got PowerShell open. We can rename this with rename computer, new name. I'm hitting tab for an autocomplete. And let's go CyberHands 11 so that we know it's Windows 11. Two different ones there. Hit enter. It says warning, changes will take effect when you restart your computer. Restart. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Restart computer. Hit enter. Let that reboot. I need to create an account, and I need to move this folder. I need to move this computer object into a folder that into one of these directories on the left-hand side where I have the folder set correctly. Now that I'm saying it, I wish I would have. Let's see. I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna try these because these are my machines right here, and I think I know what those would be. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna pause the video as I collect this information. Okay, so our VM is back up. Log back into this. And what I'm going to end up doing is I have to create an account on this computer. That's our virtual machine. And then this is going to get moved into this folder right here. Automate requires an administrative account on the machine, which is a step I have skipped because I haven't done this in about 5 years. So I'm going to go in here on the Windows 11 computer, computer management, and I'm going to move this over to the other side because I don't want anyone to see the account name. And once let's see, I'm adding this to the administrator account at the moment. Check name. Yeah, so now that has, I guess you're going to see the account name anyways for what I'm going to do. So it's called Platinum IT, because that was my business name. And then I added him to the administrators group right there. And what I have to do now is I have to move this guy. Even though it has the old name, it will clear up eventually. To remove him, I want to send to location, if I remember correctly, and then Goops machine and QuickBooks and send. let's see if I remember how to do this. I do a test here. You can test this to see if um, the account works correctly or if it's seeing everything correctly. And I'll show that by going into QuickBooks here. This is, let's see, is it going to show up? Send to location, Coops machine, and QuickBooks. I've noticed this last couple of years that it takes a couple attempts to send a computer from one machine to another. Maybe it's because it did the rename and it knows that it's a different name. There it went. Okay, so if I double click on this one now, that agent retrieves information from your remote computers. Click Tools at the bottom, Command Prompt, and here's where you can issue the command, Who am I? Hit Enter, and it should, I don't know if you want to call it orchestration, but it should run this command and then return Platinum IT. Now, if I have the username or password wrong or anything like that, it's going to take longer and eventually give you an error. If it returns with the username of Platinum IT, I know that that is correct at that point. I have administrative access on the machine. There on the right hand side, it said it executed. Uh, that's running a system. That's a little bit funny. It should say Platinum IT. Maybe they changed it. System is the highest authority that you can have, so I'm surprised that it's giving me system. Let's run that again. Okay, still system. So if I have system permissions on that machine, scripts should run though. What I just showed in the last 5 minutes, you need that or else scripts are not going to run. So let's go ahead and get back here, and what I'm going to do, let's see if I can refresh this so it gives me the right computer name. Still doesn't. On the right click, scripts, Microsoft or Platinum Integrity Security Baseline, and then PISB blog. This is going to basically bring up a window and say, when do you want to run the script? Well, I want to run it right away. And I'm not saying that this is going to work right away. I'm obviously probably miss a step here. I mean, just on the fly, I'm realizing, oh, I missed this step. I missed that step. What I'm going to do is go into Windows LTSVC, which is the Automate Agent Directory, and I'll know it's running when I see that folder being created, that PISB folder that I created. That's the reason. There's various reasons why I made these selections, but one being the agent is with my own business, but it just seemed logical to try and keep everything all in one place. I think, let's see if I can go back to scripts. In here, for that computer, here, yep, scripts. So that's running right now. If I go back to the virtual machine, I should eventually see that unless I have something set incorrectly. In which case, I'm going to have to pause this video and try and figure it out fairly quickly. If I can't figure it out fairly quickly, I'll scratch it and start all over from the beginning. Which I really don't want to do that. That's too much time. So whenever I was setting this up 5 years ago, I was finding how this all worked. I was going back between these multiple times to see how this all works. This is also where I got most of my scripting experience. Before I started doing this 5, 6 years ago, I really didn't have that good of a PowerShell scripting background. Running my own business, running Automate really gave me or helped me excel doing that. Gave me the ability to do that. So I'm thankful for that. Go back and forth to make sure it's. Or if I get an error. Oh, that gave me an error. What did I do wrong? The script was successful in the then section. Script logging has been disabled. I don't feel like it was successful. Oh, hold on, it was. Generally, I've seen this before where the PISB folder will appear for you. Maybe it being a virtual machine is a little bit different. So that I obviously don't have anything because it deleted. But let's see. Let's say if I go to Windows System 32, if I have the LGPO, there we go. It's right there. Another thing that you can do when you're getting into Automate and you're trying to figure this out, um, let's delete this. Oops. We're going to delete this LGPO, and we're going to go back to our script that we created. Let's say you're trying to figure out if these steps are successful or not. What you can do is, nope, not that one. Let's go back. Let's go back to our automation, our scripts, our view script, and PISB blog. Let's say what we want to do, the steps where we're deleting this, deleting the files, let's right click on that and let's say disable function. So this means that this step is not going to run. Let's say you're trying to troubleshoot. Let's say a script is failing. You're saying, okay, where is it failing at? I'm going to disable 2 of these. I think only 2. Disable function. And then what I'm going to do is, let's make extend this all the way out. So we're going to PowerShell write. We're going to call this Platinum Integrity Program 1 and Platinum Integrity Program 2. And when I'm done with it, I'm just going to run this to show you how you can leave the stuff there on the file system if you're troubleshooting, and then go through it, at least to get it on the system, right? So now that that's there, let me go back to here, go back to Browse, and I'm going to right click again and right click and security baseline and run this right now. Go back to my virtual machine. And where I'm going to go is right here, back to the PISB folder. And I should see that those files show up on the file system. Again, we're just calling it. On top of that, I forgot this part. To know if it ran, I said for the actual additional PowerShell modules, we're installing these into here. So let's copy this and go to the virtual machine. Here's my PowerShell Git and my policy file editor. So this ran correctly. What we did up to this part, I know is a little bit disjointed, but that's anything in the IT field, especially if you don't have it down to a finalized process. The first time it did run correctly. Those modules are there. Later on, we're going to call them. Here, I'm showing how you can write these to the file system by disabeling the delete function, and they're there. They were called, they were executed. So that's the whole purpose. That ties 1 through 4 all together. And at this point, let's close all of this. Let's go back here and go here. And let me change this back. And by change it back, I mean we're going to take a 1 off of this so that it is just Platinum Integrity program.ps1. And for this one, we take the 2 off. Save step. And this part where we deleted and we disabled the function, we're on the right click and enable function. So we're going to get this back to the default. Enable function and then save this. Go back to my virtual machine. We can delete these out. So, need to provide administrative permissions. Yeah, do this. Continue. There, it's gone. So at this point, we've run through steps 1 through 14. And next week I'm going to start. Going to, at least I hope it's going to be next week. I'm going to try writing the next steps of applying these. I have to look at my original one and see how it all works. I think I'm going to go through probably another 4. Then we'll do a catch-up video like this so people can follow through and see how I applied this. Now that I'm doing the catch-up video, I'm realizing I missed a few steps blogging, blogging, but that's okay. That's the way it goes once in a while. Again, that one step is putting the ingredients together. Well, here is where we're actually doing the cooking. So that's where I want to leave it. I actually feel pretty good about this because these things applied, and everything that we built into this right here is going to get us a much more secure Windows operating system. I'm not going to say it's going to be infallible. If I had a particular agent installed from last week, the ClownStrike issue, I probably would have been, you still would have been struck by that, right? Nothing is infallible, but it does enhance and add security, and we'll go from there. So yeah, thanks for watching this. I'm gonna get this online tomorrow, and it's very nice doing this. I hope some people find some use from what I'm doing here. Helps people learn automate, learn scripting, whatever it might be. But thank you very much.